In a country of over 2 million people, with youths constituting 60% of the population, their participation in any democratization process is paramount. As elections draw nearer, the resident of Birkama Daslami used the means of sport to enhance youth participation in decision-making process. Bakari Cisse, a native of the village, explained why the villagers came up with the initiative.
Yeah, we are trying to do actually that, to change people's perspective when it comes to voting, because many people associate voting with politics, which is quite different. So basically we are trying to sensitize the people to know that voting is not politics. You vote because you are a citizen. So we're using this tournament to spread the word around, invite all the youths to gather here, right here. This field is not even yet ready, but we are just moving ahead of the timetable rather, to make sure all the youths are sensitized and have their voters card on time.
Captain of Bukunam team, Ismaila Haidara, commended the move, adding that the youths are taking ownership of participating in the electoral process.
We are in the voter registration, and there is that sense of ownership that youths are taking. So when Mike Abilo came up with the initiative to organize sport in the name of voter registration campaign, I think it's a laudable initiative, because if you look at the teams, the two teams that are involved, one can say they are all of voting age. So that sense of ownership is in this Kabilo, and that is true sport, because the awareness is going to be there. So I think it's a laudable initiative.
The Gambia Transport Union president, who is also a resident of the village, explained the criteria each player would possess in order to participate in the tournament.
So we have a 24 team within the Kabilo. It's over 300 compounds, so we have 600 players. But each player needs to acquire, a voter's card. Don't allow you to qualify to play this tournament. As I said before, the fans club also, the females who have the largest the voter's card will win the $10,000 a cash.
The head of the committee, Alauddin Baji, believes that their aim is already achieved, because the pivotal thing is the number of people they influence in the process.
Well, actually, I can say, to me, we have already gained success, because to me, who wins or who loses is not very much important. But what is important is how many individuals do we influence to go and acquire a voter's card to be able to vote.
The December 4th contest is the first presidential election since the ousting of the former President Jammeh in 2017. The Elections Act, as amended in 2001, provided that either a birth certificate, national identity card, passport, or an attestation from either village or district head must be presented for one to obtain the voter's card. And Section 39 of the 1997 Constitution gives voting rights to only Gambian citizens that are 18 years old and above to register and vote in elections. Khadijatu Seka, iAfrica News.
The Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Yakuba Drame, was received by Commanding Officer of the Nyungun Military Base, Major Jenaba Sane, and the village community elders on Monday afternoon. Both the community and the military post in Nyungun village in the North Bank region of the country cried out to the military boss on the lack of electricity and scarcity of water to perform even a basic performance. During his previous visit to the camp, the CDS says he had made numerous follow-up calls to the company to look into the matter. CDS promised both the community of Nyungun and the military camp that they will have access to water as soon as possible.
Remember, everything is determined by the availability of funds. And that is why my interaction with you, usually, I'm not tempted to make unwarranted promises. I want to tell you what I can do. If I give you my word, be assured that will be done. Today I was told about water. Last year the water was not the problem. But I can give you my word, that would be solved. Within 1 month, I don't expect you to go and fetch water. I can give you my word.
Lieutenant General CDS Drame also discourages soldiers from taking part in political rallies or campaigns as officers of the armed forces. But he was quick to recognize that the men and women in uniform have the right to vote in any election as long as they are eligible.
As a fine institution like the military, we cannot afford to take part in politics. I've said it to you the last time, and I want to repeat myself today again. I will not partake in politics. If I cannot participate in politics, what would cause you to participate in politics? Let's stay away from politics. Let's not get ourselves involved in politics.
Tree planting exercise was also conducted by the army chief and other officials of his entourage. This is his second tour of military camps since he was appointed as Chief of Defense Staff to steer the affairs of the Gambia Armed Forces. Reporting for iAfrica News from Farafenni, I am Mariama Cham.
In the 2017 parliamentary elections, the Gambia Democratic Congress party won 5 seats, running at par with holder of the minority leader, National Reconciliation Party, among others, in a battle of 58 representatives. However, the number with the GDC under party leader Mama Kande has condensed following the ejection of 2 parliamentarians from the party. The member for Jara Central and member for Jokadu constituencies have been accused of shifting allegiance to President Barrow's NPP party, leaving GDC with no option than to let them go for good. Their official firing from the party was announced before lawmakers by the majority leader of the House on Tuesday.
Member for Jara Central constituency and 2 Honorable Salif Jao, member for Jokadu constituency. Henceforth, the said honorable members cease to be members of the GDC political party. Accordingly, the table office will facilitate their seating arrangements and other related matters. Thank you.
Speaking to the press after the parliamentary session, the National Assembly member for Jokadu constituency, Salif Jawa, confirmed his exit from the GDC, alleging that his former party leader Mama Kande is a dictator. He said that the support they gave to the private member bill protecting ward councillors didn't go down well with the GDC, and that is among the immediate causes of their expulsion from the party.
Between us and Mama Kande, when this local government private member bill was brought to the parliament, for it to be amended so that councillors also can have their independence. Because what was there is, if a councillor is dismissed by his political party leader or resigns from his political party, then automatically that councillor will lose his or her seat. And then we see to it that it is not fair because those people are voted by so many Gambians to represent them. So one person should not just wake up one morning and then just sack you from his or her party and then you automatically lose your seat. So we supported that bill, and then that brought a chaos between us and Mama Kande. The second issue was the draft constitution, which was brought here. We also against it because of national interest, because there were so many hidden things in that draft. We did not support it.
The member for Jara Central, Keba Jala, questioned the reason for GDC's interference in their decisions as parliamentarians. According to him, Kande's act would lead to the era of dictatorship, which they fought so hard to oust from the State House.
Why is it that he has to tell us that we don't have to support? He has to leave us with our conscience. You see, at the moment you start telling your members that, you know, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, I mean, you are entering into something like what Honorable Salif Jao said. You are becoming a dictator. And this is what we have said, that's what Yaya Jammeh was doing here. That's what we said here. All of us, the fight that we fought in 2016 was of this nature. It was of this nature. And in fact, that's what warranted when we came in 2017 as the 5th National Assembly, we removed that section from the 1997 Constitution. That is 91(1)D, to liberate the National Assembly members so that you can be able to stand in chambers and debate peacefully, objectively.
The two parliamentarians have confirmed their allegiance to President Barrow's NPP now on. With the expulsion of these members from the GDC, the death of the Nyamina West representative last year, the party is now left with two National Assembly representatives. In 2018, the party experienced mass resignations from their top executives, including the deputy party leader, and serving orders in search of what they called a leader and not a boss. Karejetu Sega, iAfrica News.
The conference is geared towards promoting peace and security in the sub-region, as well as building capacities for atrocity prevention. Several atrocities, including right violations, torture, arbitrary arrest and detention, enforced disappearances and killings were allegedly committed under the 22-year rule of Yahya Jammeh. Despite these atrocities, African states and institutions paid a deaf ear to it. In light of this, the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, together with the Denmark government, seeks to promote peace and security across the sub-region, considering the status of human rights in Africa. The Director of Faculty Affairs and Research at Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Professor Annan, said the initiative could not have come at a better time as the people of the Gambia had gone through a lot of atrocities during 2017 political impasse.
But there's also a bit of a problem that whilst these atrocities went on in Gambia, with the exception of the European states, the African states and institutions were quiet. So we see your elections in 2017 and the effort at establishing a Truth and Reconciliation Commission as a bold effort at telling yourselves and sending a signal to the rest of African countries, first, that you failed in our hour of need, that we ourselves are willing and prepared as Gambians to confront that history and to say, never again in the history of Gambia will we allow one person to undermine state institutions, threaten communities, abuse individuals, and send a signal to the world that what we have signed on to, we do not respect it.
Director Annan said they will engage the most critical institutions, including the IEC and the police, emphasizing that the success of the December 4th election in the Gambia is an important sign that the country can be a leader in the democratic processes.
The way the media reports election is also crucial in stabilizing the tensions and the misunderstandings that can arise. So we'll be looking forward to talking to your national organization, possibly creating some training. But I know that prior to December, sometime around October, November, we will be coming back to provide some targeted, training to quite a number of institutions. The success of your elections in December is a crucial indicator that Gambia can still be a leader in democratic processes. Now, as I know, that almost every election that has taken place in the last 18 months in West Africa has had some difficulties.
Meanwhile, the head of Peace of Support Operations Program, Frank Okairi Osei, explained the significance of the initiative to the Gambia.
Well, we are hoping that this will open up the space for us to further our engagements with the government of the Gambia in terms of promoting national mechanisms for atrocity prevention. We will continue to engage the leadership of the Gambia in the subsequent months and years coming so that we can find appropriate interventions that we think will bring the dream of never again in terms of the prevention of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity to reality.
Elections are one of the root causes of atrocities in many West African states. As a result, Frank hopes that the upcoming December 4th election in the Gambia will be a peaceful one. Major General Francis Oforu, Commandant of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, said that the findings of the various field studies will be presented at the conference to avail participants and experts the opportunity to make further inputs in making the final country report to reflect the situation on the ground. Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center commenced its first full annual training and education cycle in March 2004 and has since expanded its curriculum to over 20 different courses. The institution, until the beginning of 2016, has offered over 230 courses in diverse aspects of peace support operation for over 11,000 military, police and civilian personnel from 88 different countries. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Sand mining being the extraction of sand from various land and water bodies such as the beach, inland dunes, and riverbed is a vibrant industry as no infrastructural development can go entirely behind it. So the demand for sand continues to grow as a valuable resource for construction. Few years on the line of history, the coastal line of certain places and their unique sand dunes were the only source of sand for the construction industry in the Gambia. This is known to have resulted in serious environmental problems such as land degradation, loss of agricultural lands, and biodiversity. Sino Majilak Jalbak, as a new sand dragging company, chose to take a little different path, heading towards the deep sea as the center of its mining activities. Bankamani, the public relations officer of the company, says the project was set up in response to the demand of the population for quality sand for construction without posing any environmental risk.
Sand is one of those commodities in this country that is badly needed. I mean, the construction in this country is booming. I mean, there's a huge amount of construction going on. And sadly, over the years, you know, the kind of mode of accessing this sand has not been really the best, you know, process. The environmental disaster that has unfolded is no news to nobody, so I don't want to dwell on that. But after the Faraba incident, the founders of the company felt the need to really create a company like this, where we can be able to provide these facilities in the country without the kind of disaster that has been unfolding over the years.
Even though the company has its own truck drivers to deliver the sand for the customers, buyers are allowed to use their own transport services for reduced prices.
We have our own trucks here, as you can see, and if anybody is interested in sand, they can always call us. And our agents are on standby to respond to any questions that they might have. We also have, you know, truck drivers out there, or trucking companies, if you will, who are also on the standby in case somebody needs to order it through them. They can, but then we have our own trucks also. So the public is welcome to come with their own trucks, is what I meant, and we have our own trucks to also provide the sand if they need us to also fulfill that need for them.
The PRO of Sino Majilak Jalbak took some time to explain their mode of demand and supply with respect to pricings.
The size, we don't sell by truck size, even though that's how it's communicated most of the time in the country. We sell the sand by cubic meters. So $650 per cubic meter, which if you put it in the local lingo, it's terms, it's called wheel. So the 10 wheel, for instance, which is a truck that they call the 10 wheel, is supposed to be the 10 cubic meters. So, and that 10 cubic meter, basically, if you multiply the 650 by 10, that's $6,500 for the 10 cubic meter, for that 10 wheeler. And so that's excluding the transportation. So if you bring your own truck, you can get sand out of here for $6,500. During the rains here, everybody knows sand can be very expensive. But our effort is also to make sure that's stabilized and keep the prices as reasonable as possible.
In one aspect, the sand mining company is new in terms of existence and new in terms of the venture in deep sea and sand mining. It operates with about 20 employees who are mainly Gambian in different operational positions.
Sino Majilak Jalbak is a sand dragging company at the verge of providing sand to the Gambians. The company started this project 2 years ago with the aim of providing sand to the people without destroying the environment, and to stop them from crying over their land degradation due to sand mining. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
The Gambia remains a predominantly agricultural country as far as employment is concerned. The livestock production sector plays a pivotal role in the country's GDP. But despite its contribution, people who are engaged in cattle trading travel to either Senegal, Mali or other countries in the sub-region to buy ruminants with only few from the Gambia. The fluctuating exchange rates are considered to be one of the challenges by the cattle traders, locally known as jewelers and the butchers. In an interview with iAfrica TV, parties blame one another for the low meat production in the country.
When the butchers come for the cattle, whatever amount you tell them, they will agree because they are not paying in cash. When they sell the cattle, they will take out their expenditures and tell you that your cattle has lost a profit of 2,000, 3,000 or even 5,000. You wouldn't be able to do anything because if you take them to court, you will add more frustration on yourself, but you won't get justice.
But for Daruba, a cattle trader, the problem is as a result of government's lack of support to the traders.
The difficulties that we are in today, for instance, when you go to Senegal, their traders work with the government. I said so because the African Development Bank and Agriculture are the ones that use their money and resources to fund their traders. When merchandise is plentiful, there is likely to be losses. But here, the government would never help the poor. Since last year, they brought money saying it is the traders' money. We have been following it with them since last year, but we are yet to receive anything. This is how they will do until the project money is finished.
In response, Yahya Jammeh, a butcher, explained the reason why they are being accused of not paying their debts in full.
If you give your cattle to someone for loan, you should make it in a proper way, so that if he sells it, you can get back your money. But if you are giving me the cattle for $35,000, how will I make profit? It won't be easy. Give it to me at a reasonable price. When I sell it, I will also give you back your money. That is why it is difficult. You will buy a cattle for a price and at an interest rate which is very difficult for us. We will have to take it because this is our job. If the cattle is 30,000, but you sell it at 40,000, so if a butcher agrees to take it, in most cases, he would owe you some money.
Ibrahim Gates stated that the high price involved in the sales of the ruminants is sometimes responsible for their losses.
The problem is price you
The problem is the price in which they normally sell to the butchers is usually not the price of the cattle. So if the cattle should cost $40,000, they will rather sell it for $50,000. So if the butcher does not have that kind of money to buy the cattle, then you will have to take it as a loan. And if you do so, you won't make profit at all. So if you give the cattle owner $10,000, it will be definitely a problem. So the only thing you can do is to refund him the actual amount of the cattle without any interest. Even that, the cattle owner will still think you ate his money. This is why the butchers who have money normally buy in cash. That's what I normally do.
They call on the government to come to their aid and to help them revive their businesses. Justice delayed, they say, is justice denied. The cattle traders also urge the justice sector to speed up and consider their cases that are still pending in the courts. Karigatu Seka, iAfrica News.
Tobacco industry intervention remains a critical component that undermines and delays tobacco control interventions, as well as tobacco tax reform process in the Gambia. According to the Gambia Tobacco Industry Mapping Report, the country has one of the strongest tobacco control laws in Africa, with 100% smoking-free provisions that prohibit smoking in all public places. Despite these laws and regulations, the Health Ministry said there is a low compliance rate among the public.
The ministry has noted with concern the low compliance rate among the public and institutions in spite of the numerous radio, television and community engagement programs conducted to sensitize the public on the law and regulations. In addition to the public sensitization programs, the Deputy IGP on behalf of the IGP also made a televised statement on the 12th November 2020, reminding and soliciting the cooperation of the public on the enforcement of the laws and regulations.
The ministry further reminded the public once again about some of the provisions of the Act.
A smoke-free environment ensures that every person has a right to smoke free. A person consuming a tobacco product, including shisha, shall ensure that he or she does not expose another person to tobacco smoke. A person shall not smoke in any public places, workplace and public transport. A person shall not smoke in an enclosed space, that is within 100 meters of a public place.
According to the Gambia Tobacco Industry Mapping Survey, tobacco companies are not as significant as they claim to be as far as the country's economy is concerned. The report proved that they often exaggerate the tax they pay and the number of staff under their payroll. Therefore, their claims are found misleading and false. Despite the progress registered, financial resources to support tobacco control efforts in the Gambia are very limited. As a result, experts say more effort is needed to strengthen Tobacco Control Act and regulations in the country. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Work on this road is progressing at a steady speed, barely 3 months after the laying of the foundation stone. About 2 kilometers of the 5.2-kilometer road has been leveled and will soon be constructed. Sambu Jangasama is the supervisor of Haji Group, HG, the company doing the construction work. He says his company will construct a first-class road that may be completed in 6 months of the one-year contract.
It's going to be a first-class road because it's going to have drainage, and it's going to have black stone, and it's going to have it's a good road even because we have 3 layers after black stone. They give us 1 year, but I know before 6 months we are going to finish it. Because when you are working, you must expect that rain can come at any second. Okay. So when you are working, you will be very fast. After when you come back, the consultant, they will come and test. When it's okay, you just call the trucks to come and dump it and cover it.
Roads can have both positive and negative influences on people and the environment. Ablai Jallo has a tailoring shop beside this road and he pours water on the road to reduce dust pollution.
Construction workers are working, but since last week, when they reached my area, they put the gravel and sand on the road. They started leveling it since Friday, but at the moment we find it difficult to cope with the dust pollution, and we are encountering a lot of problems from the dust in homes and at shops and food vendors. We are experiencing a lot of problems, and it has gotten to the point where I have to pour water on the road to reduce the pollution.
Modu Sambu, a driver along Farato Jamburu Road, says he is pleased with the construction work but would like the government to do more.
We have some challenges that we face, like the road, the way they are constructing it is very good, but we face some difficulties like too much of dust. Yeah, too much of dust. It is disturbing us, it is disturbing our vehicles, and it is disturbing the customers. So if they can just add a little bit of force, like if they have a tank of a truck which is supposed to use water, they can use it to help us so that the dust can be reduced. We can be able to walk again as they are walking too.
Esa Jan, chief driver at the Jambur car park in Farato, expresses dissatisfaction in the construction of the Farato-Jambur road. Good roads provide easy mobility and transport for people and goods, but road construction often has damaging effects of noise, dust, and vibrations. Excess dust production can be treated by watering or using dust binders near houses, but for the moment, none of these is used in reducing dust pollution in the area, and settlers struggle daily to battle the haze pollution. Reporting for iAfrica TV, this is Omar Ahmadou Toure.
Although the majority of Gambians depend on fish as their main source of meal, this sector continues to face challenges such as illegal and juvenile fishing in the country. This bad practice, critics say, is having a significant negative impact in terms of economic losses, leading to poor fishing in the Gambia. As a result, the Honorable Member for Banjul South, Tumanjai, moved a motion to summon the Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources to appear before the lawmakers to explain the state of fisheries in the Gambia.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move a motion under Section 53K to summon the Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources as a matter of urgency to answer to this August House as to the state of the Fisheries Department and to the recent revelations that we have seen, Madam Speaker.
According to Tumanjai, when the Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources appeared before the Parliament some time back, he misled them by giving them false information.
Seeing the distasteful state of fish lying in our coastlines. And Madam Speaker, if you recall, some time back, I asked the Minister of Fisheries the state of the coastal line and the damage that's being done. And he stood here in front of this August Assembly and blatantly gave us false information that we were following social media. Madam Speaker, it is now time to ask him to come back and tell us the real state, because this is displeasing. And Madam Speaker, we all see the skyrocketing prices of fish in this country, and we've all seen how our citizens are being restricted because they cannot afford the cost of fish. Meanwhile, Madam Speaker, we have seen thousands and thousands of fish. When we woke up this morning, it is in the media and we have seen it, and it's been confirmed that this is happening. So we want the Honorable Minister, as a matter of urgency, to come and clear this.
Responding to the motion, Honorable Member for Upper Salum, Alajimbo, suggested that Tumanjai provides evidence to justify rather than merely saying it.
Again, as a parliament, I think it's quite important that if we have things like this, we need to have some evidence. Just merely saying that we have seen, I have not seen anything. So I would suggest if the honorable member can provide some documentation or some evidence about this thing, because we cannot just base a motion based on allegation or based on something we don't have. We must be based on facts.
At the end of the motion, the majority of the lawmakers agreed for the motion to be passed. Industrial fishing for local processing in the Gambia has nearly collapsed due to increased illegal fishing, poor surveillance of the fisheries resources in the high seas. However, it is said that 90% of the world's fish are either overfished or fully exploited, and $23 billion worth of seafood is stolen from the sea annually through unreported and unregulated fishing. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Desise.
The visit came following his attendance to the 59th ECOWAS Summit in Accra for presidents and heads of government. The presidential visit to Saudi is also coming as pressure mounts on the West African state over the possibility of hosting the summit of Organization of Islamic Conference next year. Last year, the Saudi Kingdom took away the hosting of world Muslim leaders after Gambia failed to attain financial and material requirements for the event. The Saudi-Gambia relation has been top-notch for the past several years, even during the leadership of the former President Yahya Jammeh. With decades of diplomatic ties, the two countries have agreed to work together as sisters in different areas of cooperation. Saudi Arabia, being one of Gambia's constant donors, has recently signed an agreement to finance the second phase of a development project of the Banjul International Airport. The improved facilities will result in the creation of about 1,000 new jobs. The airport project is also expected to increase the number of passengers 43%, reaching 400,000 per year. For iAfrican News, Sohna Tunkara.
Initially, it was 5 recommended candidates, but after thorough vetting of the would-be human rights commissioners, only 2 people were considered suitable. The names of these potential candidates were tabled before the lawmakers for consideration, as only one can be appointed. Justice Minister Dauda A. Jallow explained the vigorous process involved.
The schedule, the operational procedure at the schedule at the back, contemplated the appointment of all the 5 commissioners. and as a result, it requires that 9 should be shortlisted and be given to the National Assembly so that you have enough room to be able to choose from. However, in this situation, a vacancy occurred, and that is a seat reserved for a female. We did follow all the due process. We advertised, we gazetted, but you are offered with 2 candidates to choose from, to choose 1 out of the 2, instead of 9 to choose 5 from, because we are not reappointing the entire commission anymore, but we are only appointing 1 to replace the one that exceeded.
Minister Jallow said the applications of the candidates have been vetted in accordance with the appropriate procedures by a multi-sectoral committee who came up with the shortlist. He said their names were also gazetted for possible public objections, but none have come forward. As a result, it has now been brought to the National Assembly for consideration and selection of one of the 2 candidates who will later be appointed by the President.
We have vetted, there is a committee that by law should be set up, which is a multi-sectoral committee that was composed. They are the ones that vetted all the applications and came up with this shortlist. And it has been gazetted for the public notice so that the public members of the public who may have any objection may put forward their objections to the appointment of these candidates. But we have not received any objections so far. So the next step now is to bring it before this August Assembly for your consideration and selection of 1 out of the 2 for the final appointment of the President.
In 2017, the National Assembly enacted the National Human Rights Commissions Act. With this act, the Gambia established its first ever Human Rights Commission with a mandate to promote and protect human rights. One of the core functions of the Commission is to investigate violations of human rights at its own initiative or on a complaint made by any person or a group of persons. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I am Hadija Tuhaita Toure.
Promotion within the Gambia Armed Forces is subjected to performance, qualification, and promotional exams in view of the ongoing security sector reforms. Earlier this year, over 3,000 soldiers were promoted to different ranks across the units of the military. The latest promotion targeted soldiers in the Defense Headquarters camp under the command of Colonel Jere B.P. Gomez in Yundum. Deputy Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Major Mamad Ocham, who presided over the ceremony, reminded the soldiers of their duties and what it means to be promoted.
We are the foundation of a nation. The Constitution of this country has assigned us the role to defend and safeguard the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country, meaning that worthy sons and daughters of the country will serve in the armed forces to make sure that they build the necessary skills and capacities to be able to defend and protect our national territory. This is the job that soldiers all over the world do, and this is what we are tasked to do by the Constitution and the people of the country.
To those yet to be promoted in the armed forces, Major Cham gave a guideline to attainment of higher ranks. It all revolves around quality performance and hard work.
For those of you who has not yet been lucky to be part of this promotion, my message to you is to tell you that the command has taken a very conscious decision to say that henceforth we will promote and reward excellence in the Gambia Armed Forces. Gone are the days where people are promoted for any other consideration other than hard work, dedication to duty, and loyalty. You, like the officers, will be subjected to what we call annual promotions exams based on your professional career and your rank. And where you are found to be deserving, you will be promoted as a reward.
Corporal Musa Suso, one of the promoted members of the Army, welcomed his rank as motivation to become more effective on the obligations.
Our new ranks will strengthen our individual service delivery in the Gambia Armed Forces that will culminate to the total service delivery of Gambia Armed Forces for the betterment of our nation, the Gambia. These ranks will motivate us to be more effective in our daily efforts in discharging our responsibilities as junior and senior NCOs. As the saying goes, and I quote, "To whom much is given, much is expected."
The event featured the decoration of 37 of the list of promoted soldiers, with the arrangement for the remaining 875 men and women of the force to be decorated by their unit commanders later on. Among the promoted members of the army, 13 private soldiers attained the ranks of lance corporal, 15 attained the ranks of corporal, and 9 to the ranks of a sergeant. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
The Gambia Police Force continue its mandate in making sure there is peace and stability in the country by ensuring that the Gambia is stable and people's life and properties are protected. The Operation Zero Crime campaign, which was only within the Greater Banjul areas, is now extended to the provincial regions of the country. From the 14th to the 28th of June 2021, a total of 104 individuals were arrested, but after a thorough screening, 23 of those arrested were released immediately because they were not connected to any crime. The police also handed 21 individuals to the Gambia Immigration Department for immigration and immigrant-related issues, and about 24 people were handed over to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency for drug-related matters. Out of the 104 individuals who were arrested, 31 of them were charged for various criminal offenses ranging from sub-breaking and stealing, house-breaking and stealing, possession of stolen properties, obstruction of officers in the execution of their duties, among others. Some cases have already been taken to court, while others are being investigated by the Gambia Police Force. The public relations officer of the Gambia Police Force stated that their officers are usually obstructed during the execution of their duties. Njai therefore advised the public to desist from this act and allow the officers to do their job. Superintendent Lamin Jai also called on the public to channel their complaints, if they have any, to the right authorities and proper actions will be taken. Meanwhile, Jai further highlighted that they are about to launch another operation called Cleaning Main Highways, which seeks to ease traffic congestion.
We are about to launch another operation that we will be clearing the highway of all obstacles and derelict vehicles, and also we know there are some people who have who are tire sellers, and they put tires along the highway at some areas. We know there are people who sell who have put stalls also along the highways and public roads as well. So we want these people to remove these things from the highways and on the sides of the highway, because these things contribute to congestion. And so the Gambia Police Force is coming up with a coordinated operation which is going to target removing all these derelict vehicles and also tires, as well as workshops and so on and so forth, that are being put on the highways and creating obstruction on public roads and highways.
The Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Gambia Fire and Rescue Service, Cadet Amadou F.M. Jai, highlighted on some of the challenges they also encounter in their line of duty.
People fond of stoning our officers, our fire appliances, while we are called onto a fire scene. Those are chargeable offenses that can be levied to any person found wanting.
Cadet Jai stated that such behavior will have a great impact on the fire victims. He called on the general public to allow the officers to do their job accordingly and allow them to assist during hard times. Assistant Piero Cadet Njai warned those found burning people's houses for no reason to desist from such acts. He further advised landlords to be vigilant of the people they rent their houses to in order to avoid what they call arson. NCA3 Lamin K. Jobate, DDR officer of the Gambia National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, also urged the public to be law-abiding and continue giving information about drug peddlers.
So continue supplying Drug Law Enforcement Agency with information or sister security services with information. And please, like PRO Njai has just mentioned as well also, obstruction is one of the greatest challenges that we are faced with daily during our routine operations, in and out, during our routine operations. So we just want to continue to appeal to the general public that obstructing our officers while executing their functions is a breach of the law. And anybody who is found wanting, you will face the full force of the law.
Since 2017, a lot of attacks on innocent people have surfaced in the country. As a result, the Operation Zero Crime campaign was launched with the objective of tackling crimes and dismantling criminal hideouts. Since then, significant arrests have been made by the Gambia Police Force and other sister security forces. For iAfrica News, Binte Jallo.
During the peak of the coronavirus pandemic, the Ministry of Health initiated the renovation of the one-time abandoned Demban Clinic with joint support from South Africa Global Foundation, the World Bank and UNDP. The facility in Bakau was added to the list of treatment centers for COVID-19 patients. Following the inauguration of the clinic last year, the World Bank Regional Director on Wednesday paid a visit to the facility to obtain first-hand information on the progress so far. Speaking to the press by the end of his tour, Natha Bled expressed World Bank's renewed commitment in the fight against COVID-19.
We continue to encourage the ministry to be very prudent, efficient, and effective in the utilization governance of these funds to ensure that the services that are supposed to be rendered to all the citizens and beneficiaries of medical services in the country can be well supported through the provision of these resources. We remain fully committed to supporting the Gambia in the development and improvement of the health sector.
Mr. Blade unveiled plans by the World Bank to ensure fair distribution of COVID-19 vaccines in the Africa continent.
From the perspective of the World Bank, and I know from many of our other partners, we are working very, very diligently to assist in the acquisition of vaccines. There is a very strong initiative effort being held, supported through the African Union for the acquisition of vaccines for the African continent. From our specific perspective, the World Bank, our first and primary goal was to ensure that there was availability of financing. So our leadership very soon into the COVID-19 pandemic had allocated a very large amount of money to ensure that any country that needed financing for the purchase of vaccines would be able to get it.
The health facility in Bakau was reviewed at a tune of $290,000 at a time when the Gambia needed to prepare for a worst-case scenario from COVID-19. The Ministry of Health and the South Africa Global Foundation, together with the UN Development Programme and the World Bank, inaugurated the Demban Clinic in December 2020. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Lacey Se.
Gambia's energy demand has grown by 5.5% a year in recent years, and new 20 MWP solar power plant to the national energy grid will both significantly increase Gambia's current generation capacity of 98 megawatts and enable electrification of rural areas. In 2017, 47% of the population of the country had access to electricity, and a major electricity gap exists in rural areas. Moreover, the cost of electricity in the Gambia is higher than neighboring countries. During the oral question and answer session at the National Assembly chambers in Banjul, the National Assembly member for Woolly West, Honorable Sidia Jata, asked if the project takes into consideration educational institutions such as schools. In response, the Petroleum Minister Fafa Sanyang says 1,100 schools and health centers in the Gambia will benefit from the project.
Basically, schools and health center area communities are targeted. That's why if you look at, also some facilities where we have industry facilities, tourism facilities, so we target those areas for grid connection. But in addition to connecting grids to those communities with schools and hospitals, we have also a project we are working right now with the Education Ministry and also with the Health Ministry to provide solar power energy to all the schools, and that's 1,001 schools and health centers all over the country. That is even with grid, we provide that. That will even reduce their energy consumption. Definitely it is. That's our target in our criteria and selecting villages.
The European Union will provide 106 million for clean energy program to be implemented by NAWEC. This includes 65 million under a 25-year long-term concessional loan and a 41 million grant from the European Union budget. The project will also be supported by 35.7 million euro financing from the World Bank. Minister Sanyang states that NAWEC and the ECOWAS Commission are in the process of finalizing the contract.
Madam Speaker, NAWEC and the ECOWAS Commission are in the process of finalizing the contract with the most responsive bidder for ECOWAS Regional and Electricity Access Project, which covers part of Nyamina West constituency. The contract is expected to be signed before the end of this month or early July 2021, and the implementation will commence before end of this year. The villages in Nyamina West that will benefit from this project are namely Kolikunda, Walingara, Momodu, Papa, Jaulaba, Kunda, Sambam Mandinka, Sambam Fula, Jamwali, Sare Seidu, Kabambang, Sare Lieng, Babu Job, Bohol, Dalaba, Choya, and Kumbanyi, sorry.
Gambia could be the first country in the world in ensuring that all the 1,100 rural schools and health centers benefits from a reliable energy supply using solar and battery technology. This will happen through a 20 megawatt solar energy and 400 kilometer distribution project, as well as installation of PV off-grid systems to transform energy access and cut cost. The project is designed to assure that sustainable provision of electricity powered by solar system for at least 20 years and to lay the groundwork for a national solar energy industry to provide additional services in the future. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
The long-standing cooperation between the Gambia government and the Islamic Development Bank has yielded significant results thanks to the bank's result in strengthening Gambia's economy and other developmental corporations. President Barrow's meeting with the bank officials availed him the opportunity to commend the banks for its continued support to his government's transformation agenda. Speaking to the press on the ground, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mamburin Jai, highlighted the significance of the meeting. According to him, the Islamic Development Bank has immensely supported the country's socio-economic agenda in uplifting the lives of Gambians.
But because of our relationship with the ISDB, it's important always to take stock, review what we've been doing, and that to say thank you to the ISDB group. I think as at now, end 2020, the total portfolio is in the tune of $163.5 million and is a cross-cutting project. It includes education, transportation, agriculture, and energy. And the impact it has had on our socio-economic development for 41 years, that's the relationship. And it's a solid foundation. Our intention is to cement and continue the relationship, deepening in the relationship, and to make sure we do find new areas of investment.
The finance minister also explained the government's plan in cementing ties with the bank to further explore all the national interests of development.
The way forward is to really uplift in terms of the type of investment that we'll be getting from the bank. We're looking at sectors, again, in education. They have been sponsoring students from the bachelor's degree up to PhD levels. But what most important thing now, we are looking at infrastructure and health. These are the areas that we are looking at to see how we can upgrade and upscale the investment from the bank. It's been very fruitful, 41 years, it's not 41 days. And virtually all the projects, alhamdulillah, they've been doing well. That is why on a Friday, off day for the president of IDB, I've come personally to see the president. Small in size, but powerful and very big in the way we do our things.
President Adama Barrow is on a 7-day state visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where he is scheduled to engage in different activities, including the inauguration of the Gambian embassy and the ambassador's residence in Riyadh on Tuesday. The Gambian leader had on Thursday performed Umrah at the holy city of Mecca, where he took his arham and performed tawaf, the circling round of the Kaaba. President Barrow is expected to return to Banjul on Tuesday, 29th June. Reporting for Africa News, I am Amadou Kante.
The theme for this year's commemoration is Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives. World Drug Day is a day that is used to strengthen action and cooperation in achieving the goal of a world free of drug abuse, and highlights the dangers of drug use and its trade, and mobilize public support in the fight against drugs. On this day, awareness raising is undertaken by anti-narcotic agencies, civil society organizations and individuals all over the world on the effects of drugs and its ramifications on nations. Gambia's Minister for Interior said, despite government efforts in creating awareness, there seemed to be a lot of misinformation and stereotype perpetrated by some individuals and groups against the country on drug-related matters.
All of these are clearly intended to put the government in a poor light and cloud its sincere and remarkable efforts in fighting against drugs. This makes it even more critical to mobilize against misinformation and share facts. The fight against drug abuse and trafficking is a shared and common responsibility.
Young people are mostly affected by this endemic. Statistics from the country's only psychiatric hospital indicated that about 60% of their patients admitted at the hospital are on induced psychosis. Minister Sonko attributed the high youth involvement in drugs to misinformation, saying it has cost the lives of many people who fell victims to drugs. As a transit state in the transnational trade, Gambia is a significant transshipment point for cocaine trafficked from South America to European markets, making it liable for cocaine trafficking in Africa. In recent years, huge volumes of cocaine shipped by sea and air have been seized by the Gambian authorities. Despite all this, Yankuba Sonko maintained that Gambia is highly stable in terms of drug trafficking.
Based on available and variable evidence, the Gambia is highly stable in terms of drug trafficking. There is continued and sustained effort in countering the world drug problem by implementing a strong and credible drug interdiction regime. The government of the Gambia, therefore, assures all Gambians and partners that this country is far from being a narcotic state, as there are clear evidence and that legitimate state institutions are not penetrated or influenced by the wealth and power of drug traffickers.
Honorable Sonko reiterated that Gambia is and will remain a hostile ground for drug traffickers. For iAfrica News, Julde Njai Suare.